The rain was falling in quiet, cold sheets, and she was sitting there on the school steps, hugging her knees to her chest, staring at the puddles that mirrored the grey sky above. Her backpack lay forgotten beside her, half open with papers scattered and crumpled. She hadn't eaten all day, her stomach twisted with hunger and the weight of worry. But no one seemed to notice, or maybe no one cared. She felt invisible, the world moving around her while she remained frozen, small and unnoticed, until a shadow fell across her, warm and steady. A man she had never seen before knelt down in front of her, holding a sandwich wrapped in a simple paper bag. His eyes were kind, soft, with an understanding that didn't require explanation. "Hey, you look like you could use this," he said. And somehow those words felt like the first warmth she had felt in a long time. She looked up, startled and unsure, and then he smiled gently, the rain glinting off the brim of his hat, and everything seemed a little lighter. She took the sandwich, whispering a quiet thank you, and that was when she didn't notice the woman standing just behind him, her expensive coat dripping with rain, arms crossed, watching the whole scene with eyes that were wide and calculating. Who was this man? Why did she feel a strange pull, a flutter in her chest, like she had just seen something she wasn't supposed to see? Before we dive into what happened next, make sure you're subscribed to Kindness Tales, like this video, if this story touches your heart, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your stories of kindness might inspire someone else today. He wasn't looking for recognition. That much was clear. The man was a single dad, juggling work, bills, and a little boy who had a stubborn obsession with dinosaurs. He had spent the morning rushing, trying to get his son ready for school, making sandwiches, searching for shoes, and somehow managing to grab his own breakfast as he ran out the door. His life was a constant race against time. And yet, when he saw a young girl sitting alone, shivering in the drizzle, something in him just stopped. He didn't question it. He simply knelt down and offered what he could. The sandwich he had made that morning for his son. It wasn't much, but it was enough. The girl hesitated, staring at the sandwich like it was a gift from somewhere magical. Her stomach growled, loud in the quiet of the rain, and then she took it. Her fingers trembled slightly, but she lifted it to her mouth, biting cautiously, almost afraid that it might vanish if she wasn't careful. The man watched, careful not to make her feel awkward, giving her space but staying close enough that she felt safe. And for a moment, it felt like time had slowed. There was just the rain, the steps, the girl and the sandwich, and the unspoken connection that passed between them. She looked at him, eyes glistening, and whispered that it was the first thing she had eaten all day. That small confession hung in the air, heavy with vulnerability. He nodded, understanding in a way that only someone who had struggled himself could. He told her quietly about his mornings, about the chaos of being a parent, about how sometimes life didn't give you a pause, but little moments like this, sharing what you have, being kind when no one is watching, made all the difference. The girl listened, mesmerized, and for the first time that week, maybe the first time in months, she smiled. It was a fragile smile, quick and fleeting, but it was real. Behind him, the woman in the coat was silent, observing everything. She had come to pick up her daughter, late from work, juggling meetings and emails, her life full of boardrooms and calls that rarely paused for anything human. She had been hurrying, thinking about quarterly reports and the dinner she hadn't had time to cook. When she saw this man kneeling in the rain, sharing a simple sandwich with her daughter, at first she felt confusion. Who was he? Why was he there? But the longer she watched, the more she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Astonishment, gratitude, and something warmer, softer, creeping into her chest. Her daughter, the usually reserved, quiet child, was laughing softly, talking in tiny bursts about her day. She was relaxed, happy even, and it was all because of this stranger. The man didn't know who the woman was, didn't see the expensive watch on her wrist, the designer bag at her side, or the small gold pin indicating the company she ran. He didn't know she was a CEO, someone who moved through the world with power and influence, someone whose life could never slow down for the small things. He only knew that a child was hungry, sad, and alone, and he had something to give. He had a little courage, a little kindness, and a sandwich. That was enough. The rain started to ease, a light drizzle now, and the girl finished the sandwich, cheeks flushed with warmth. She looked up at the man and said, "Thank you. I didn't think anyone would help me today." He smiled, shrugged softly, and said, "Sometimes we just need a little reminder that people care." She nodded, her eyes bright now, and for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel invisible. The mother stepped forward then, hesitant, unsure how to intervene. She cleared her throat gently, and the man turned. Their eyes met, and she saw the exhaustion etched into his face, the simple clothes that spoke of hard work, of long hours and small comforts. She saw something in his eyes she hadn't expected, genuine care, selflessness, the kind of kindness that couldn't be taught, couldn't be faked. She realized in that moment that this man, this stranger who had just shared a sandwich in the rain, had given her daughter something more than food. He had given her attention, warmth, and the rare, precious feeling of being seen. She thanked him, quietly, softly, and he nodded. Almost embarrassed by the attention, he turned to leave, rain still falling gently around him. But before he could, her daughter tugged at his sleeve, shy and sudden. She wanted to say something important, and she managed only a small, heartfelt, "Thank you." That was enough. The man smiled again and waved, heading off down the street, carrying nothing but the weight of a small, simple act that had meant the world to someone else. The mother stood there a long moment after he left, rain dripping from her coat, staring at the steps where her daughter had sat, thinking about the man's eyes, the way he had knelt so naturally, offering what he had without hesitation. She realized how rare it was to see kindness given so freely, how often it was overlooked or ignored. She thought about her own life, filled with schedules and responsibilities, and how often she had rushed past moments that mattered more than she realized. That day, she decided things could be different. That small act of sharing a sandwich reminded her that kindness wasn't about grand gestures or wealth. It was about noticing, caring, and giving what you could, even if it was small. The girl ran after her mother, skipping the last few steps with a lightness she hadn't felt in weeks. She laughed, a pure, unguarded laugh, and her mother caught her, hugging her close. "You were seen today," she whispered. "Someone saw you, really saw you." The girl nodded, the sandwich now a memory, but the warmth and connection lingering like a quiet glow inside her. She didn't know who that man was, didn't know where he lived or what his story was, but she carried with her the reminder that kindness exists, and it can appear when you least expect it. Days later, the mother couldn't stop thinking about the man. She wanted to find a way to thank him, to tell him how much his simple gesture had meant. But she didn't even know his name. She didn't need to. The impact of his action had already reached far beyond what he could imagine. Her daughter was happier, lighter, more confident, and she herself had been reminded of the beauty in noticing someone's need and responding. The ripple of that moment, started by a single act of sharing a sandwich in the rain, extended further than anyone could see. Sometimes, the smallest acts of kindness have the power to change a life in ways we can't measure. A warm meal, a listening ear, a moment of attention. These things cost so little, yet mean so much. That day on the steps, a stranger gave his sandwich, a little time and a lot of heart, and in return, he gave hope and light to a young girl and her mother. The world moved on around them, but the memory lingered soft and steady, like the gentle rain that had witnessed it all. We don't always know the impact of our actions, but that doesn't make them any less important. A simple gesture can brighten a day, change a perspective, or even shift a life's direction. Every time we reach out, notice someone, and give what we can, we participate in something bigger than ourselves. That day, a sandwich shared on wet steps created a moment of connection, of understanding, of hope. It reminded everyone involved that even in the busiest, most complicated lives, kindness still matters. If you've ever experienced a moment like this, or have been the one to offer kindness when it seemed like no one was watching, share your story in the comments. Sometimes these small acts echo farther than we imagine, inspiring others to look, notice, and care. Every act of kindness, no matter how tiny, has the power to create light in someone's life. And maybe, just maybe, that's how the world begins to feel a little softer, a little warmer and a little more human. Would you like me to also create a few cinematic prompts for this story, so a YouTube creator could visualize it in video form?